And video is live. Good morning, video. Enjoying a few guzzle sips of coffee before we begin this Monday, April 18th. Fun, fun, fun. Woo! Woo! Pull up my USFL scores. I'm noticing the Four Letter Network's website. No USFL coverage. None. You go to that little area, you know, when it's other sports, and they've even got the XFL there, and they've got the NBA G League and cricket, but no USFL. Little petty, if you ask me, and not Tom Petty. Anthony Del Toro, good morning. Jason Paniagua, good morning. Tracy Bogert, good morning. Tracy, thank you for sharing that video. That was nice of you, sir. Much appreciated. Woo! Astros floundering a little bit after a 3-1 start. I think they're 5-4. Yep. We don't like that. So 2-3 over the last 5 games for the Astros. Yeah, let's hope that they get well soon against the Angels. Tracy. Good morning, Hector Gomez. Thank you. That's muy importante. Double check that. Yep. They're 5-4 on the road. First home game tonight at Minute Maid Park.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
Sir.
You know the day destroys the night.
Let me mute for my evil Facebook overlords. Sam Tobias, Steve Duraco, James Rippey. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Now, Chris Duel.
It's just another manic Monday. Wish it was.
Welcome in on a Manic Monday as we bask in the glory of the return of football, a very shortened dark ages of sports. And that's right, the dark ages of sports officially begins when the Spurs season ends and it lasts until football season begins. So the dark ages of sports lasted about 48 hours or so, maybe 54 hours. We had us some USFL football over the weekend. We had us some NBA playoff action. We had us a big old PGA golf tournament. We had the Astros floundering, I was just reminded by this on the live video feed by Tracy Bogert. The Astros' first home game is tonight. So you could argue opening day / night at Minute Maid Park tonight. So that's kind of cool. Lots to talk about, lots to cover all morning long. Welcome in Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Jeremy KOLOK, the hardest working man in radio, is your Soundscape stylist. He's also our chief meteorologist, so he may have a weather forecast for a sporting event near you. You never know. Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, how are you on this Manic Monday, the day after Easter?
I am pretty well rested. Partied hard over the Easter weekend. Had another bash at the house. Crawfish boil 1 week. It was kind of a meat madness go around this time. So just spent yesterday relaxing. Spent a little time with the family. So I'm rested on this Monday morning.
I'm kind of rested too because I did the math. You know, I work the Spurs games, and other than the All-Star break, this was my first weekend since October 5th when the Spurs preseason game began. There was always a Spurs game either on Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday day, or Sunday night. So since late September, early October, it was my first free consecutively Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I slept a lot. It's like, wow, I can actually sleep. So I'm probably better rested for this show than I've been since probably October. So yeah, so I didn't party. I slept, but that to me, the older I get, sleep is almost more exciting than a party. Jeremy KOLOK, sir, what did you do with your weekend? Now, they made you work on Saturday, which originally you thought was a free day, but then they reminded you you're the hardest working man in radio, and we like taking days away from you. How'd you do this weekend?
Yeah, I was up here for most of the day Saturday, just doing Saturday things here at iHeart, and I saw the great Charlie Parker at one point.
Whoa!
So, yeah, and you didn't expect to see Charlie Parker on the weekend.
What was he doing in the building on the weekend?
I don't know, but he had his he had his weekend attire on. I noticed that.
Was that a bathrobe?
No,
what was that?
No. It was a little bit more of like more to the party side than the work side. Like Charlie, Charlie Parker, it seems like he likes to have a little bit of fun on the weekends. But when he's here, he is all business, as you know.
Yes, you are correct. Well, all right. I think the first order of business, football returned this weekend. My philosophy in life, and Shannon, you share it. I think Jeremy may or may not share it. We'll find out. More football is good football. It was USFL football debut weekend. I watched a lot of it. And then we actually got a bonus tonight because last night's Tampa Bay Bandits Pittsburgh Maulers game was postponed due to rain. So we get a Monday night USFL game on FS1. What's difficult is, and I guess it's got to be this way, I wish there were more players that we knew from either the NFL or college who we had more of a backstory on. See, that's why I would even enjoy if a Johnny Manziel played in this league, just to have the storyline. Paxton Lynch, I saw him come in for a while, but for the most part, I've got to get used to all new players. I mean, I recognized a few names from either college or a brief stint in the NFL, and I realize it is at its heart a developmental league. But as an old guy who remembers the original USFL, you had guys like Herschel Walker and Jim Kelly and Doug Flutie and Steve Young. And granted, it was a different world, and it was a spring league that was competing with the NFL for talent, and it was giving out big contracts to some of these talented players. While I love football, while I will watch football, and while more football is good football, I gotta learn a lot of these players because they're all kind of new to me. Shannon, how do you feel about the USFL?
Yeah, speaking of the players, there wasn't a lot of names that like really stuck out to me. One of them that did was Saturday morning when teams officially kind of announced their players that would be on the practice squad. And I don't even recall the team, but John Franklin III, who, for anyone who watched Last Chance U, was one of the main featured guys and kind of had an attitude issue and had been at FSU for a minute before he went to Last Chance U and kind of went to Auburn and then eventually became a wide receiver instead of a quarterback. And that's what he still is in the USFL. But when I saw he was on a practice squad, I was like, well, now I really don't know that I know anybody. I don't know. Like, I get the hype of that. It is football in the springtime, but just from the clips I saw, it doesn't look like people are even really interested. I'll be interested to see the numbers because I guess before the games started, the USFL was saying they'd get 3 million viewers this weekend. I don't know if that's true. I was at a sports bar for brunch yesterday with the family. Right when the Houston game was going to start, I expected it to be on one of the gazillion TVs. Nowhere to be found. I just don't think the businesses care, which makes it harder for the people to care because these types of things are about community, right? You have to have the community involved in order to have that longevity, and I just don't think people are into it right now. Anyway,
Well, and I noticed, and there's that, and I noticed the 4-letter networks website, which I will, it's a big sports website. I go there to check scores now and then. Just wanted to go see what kind of coverage they have for the USFL. Now, obviously, they're not a USFL partner like NBC and FS1 and the USA Network are. They've got it nowhere on their website. Even on their website, where your big sports across the banner on the front are NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB, and golf and soccer. Then there's like these dots you click on for lesser sports. That's where they put MMA. They put NASCAR there. They've even got the Little League World Series there. They've got X Games. They've got tennis. Nothing. No mention of the USFL. And I don't like that all the games are being played in Birmingham. So in other words, if we are, and I'm trying to be a Houston Gamblers fan, but let's say a franchise had been put in Austin and or San Antonio, and it's like, yeah, let's get hyped up. Oh, I'm sorry. All the games are being played in Birmingham at Birmingham Stadium, which is what I think it's called. That I think that's a mistake. And
yeah.
I mean, if San Antonio approved with about 30,000 fans per game for a startup league it had never heard of, the Alliance of American Football, and for a brand new team they'd never heard of, the San Antonio Commanders, and for the most part, people on the roster they'd never heard of before either, a 65,000 capacity stadium, the Alamo Dome, they got roughly 30,000 per game out of the gate. So it just seems to me, and I look, looking at that stadium, the first game that had the Birmingham Stallions had a smattering of people in the stands.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching one of the games yesterday, New Orleans Breakers versus Philadelphia Stars. There's like nobody in the end zones,
right.
And it looked like 40 people on each side of the sidelines. It did not look good. And again, Shannon and Jeremy, I love football, and part of it is storylines, part of it is personnel, and it seemed like in almost every game they were playing 2 quarterbacks. It was like one quarterback would play a first quarter, then they bring in another one for a second quarter. It looked like
practice.
And Grant, I know they've only been playing for 3 weeks, but it looked like preseason football to me.
Yeah. That's what I was seeing quite a lot of, and you're right with fans. I mean, there was one point where I saw a picture, I was like, are they letting fans into all of these games? And I get from the bottom line perspective, right? All of these previous leagues in the last couple of years have collapsed, and that's because they, the bottom line ultimately fell out. And so, okay, let's have everyone in one city and play all the games in one city and not have to deal with the expense of travel and all of the things that ultimately come with that. But you're right as to why Birmingham, Alabama, when you have a place like a San Antonio that can make these operations happen, and you kind of have that audience naturally built into it. I don't know why this was the way they thought to go, unless like that stadium, they're using it for free and everything else is dirt cheap because it's Birmingham, Alabama, and they're just going to rely there. They're like, if fans come, great. If not, we've got our TV contract set for the year, so we'll just make money off of that.
Yeah, I'm seeing a comment, Shannon, from Tracy Bogert, who said he read that Colin Kaepernick should have tried to get into the USFL. I mean, even something like that, and it doesn't look like it's the type of league that would want a Kaepernick. But if you had Colin Kaepernick and Johnny Manziel in this league, and I know Johnny's playing in the fan run football league or whatever the heck it's called. But yeah, if you had some of these storylines and some of these players that we cared about, and I am somebody, I'm wanting desperately to love USFL football. I love football. I need football. I want football. I always want spring football. I don't like to go that long without football. And I realize spring football will not be NFL football by definition, and that's okay with me. The XFL, before the pandemic killed it, was a better brand of football. And I know it's week one, so I shouldn't pass too harsh of a judgment here yet. But the XFL looked like a better brand of football on the field. The Alliance of American Football looked like a better brand of football on the field. And, I'll watch again tonight because I love football. It's the Tampa Bay Bandits against the Pittsburgh Maulers on FS1, postponed due to rain from last night. Jeremy KOLOK, did you get a chance to watch any USFL football over the weekend?
Well, Chris, Shannon, I regret to inform you, I am a big NBA fan, and we had the NBA playoffs starting. So I sat there and thought about it, and I thought about Duel screening it. Shout out to Chris Duel.
Thanks for that.
Yep.
Thanks for the crumb.
And
yep.
I don't know. I wanted to fully immerse myself into the NBA playoffs, particularly the game between Kyrie Irving and the Boston Celtics. So for that reason, particularly yesterday, and then Saturday, I was pretty busy. I didn't get to it. I just had a lot of basketball in my itinerary this weekend. But I did watch some videos on Twitter of some highlights just to kind of see what was going on. I saw Jason Garrett was in the booth and whatnot. I tried to keep tabs on it, but I definitely wasn't able to keep up with it as much as y'all. It was more of an NBA weekend for me, unfortunately. So I know that all football is good football. I know that. I still echo that.
But I appreciate the honesty, and I think perhaps, your sports fans across America who were more interested in NBA basketball or Major League Baseball or PGA golf or NASCAR, they had a lot of options, and, it will remain to be seen if the USFL gets traction. But Shannon, I must tell you, if I see flaws and if the product is not as good to me as the XFL was recently before the pandemic or the Alliance of American Football, then there's something missing there. And Shannon, that's our poll question today. We are kind of taking people's pulse as to where they were over the weekend, if anywhere, on the USFL.
Yes, and just a few votes rolling in. Get over to Ticket 760 or AM 13 on the Zone on Twitter and vote in today's poll. What did you think of the opening weekend of the USFL? Currently, 25% saying they loved it and liked it. Nobody's saying they hated it. I mean, I kind of believe, I go with that. No one's going to hate having football on TV. But then half of our audience so far saying they didn't watch any of it.
And that's, like Jeremy, that's an honest answer, and we're curious. And, I am going to vote I liked it. It's not a strong like yet. I'll continue to watch it. I want to love it. It's like, it's like the X-Files. I want to believe. I want to love USFL football. All right. Jeremy mentioned the NBA. We will get into it. The game that he mentioned that he was looking forward to, Boston versus Brooklyn. It went down to the wire. We'll get into it. Boston wins it at the end by 115 to 114 on a Jason Tatum layup. And apparently Kyrie Irving was booed every time he touched the ball. And apparently Kyrie Irving gave a one-finger salute to the TD Garden fans multiple times throughout the evening. So we will get into everything NBA, NFL. The NFL draft is 10 days away. The NFL draft is April 28th. Today is April 18th. So yes, more football is good football, and NFL football is the best football. So we will certainly talk NFL draft as well. And we'll get into everything. Major League Baseball. Astros kind of floundering a little bit after a 3-1 start. They're now 5-4 on the season. They open up their home schedule. First home game tonight at Minute Maid Park. We'll talk Astros and Major League Baseball. You are invited all morning long. You want to join us on the phone lines? We love that. 800-707-9760. You want to talk back to us instantly? You can do that on the free iHeart Radio app. Very bottom of the screen as you listen via AM 1300 The Zone or Ticket 760. There's a microphone button. You press it. You got 30 seconds to sound off on anything you wish, anything we're talking about, anything you want to bring up. We'll hear it instantly. We'll play it on the radio. And, of course, lots of people joining us on the video, the live video feed. Get there via Facebook Live, Twitter, or YouTube. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. She'll bring us the high five play of the day within moments. In the next hour, the Salty Shakedown, sports history and sports birthdays. Lots going on. The hardest working man in radio, Jeremy KOLOK, is your Soundscape stylist. Thanks for hanging out with us till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, Kyrie does need to grow up. Yeah, I'll need to see more games. But I remember week 1 of the XFL, the most recent one. I was enjoying it. Week 1 of the Alliance of American Football, I was there at the Alamo Dome. I was enjoying it. But yeah, Tracy, you brought up Colin Kaepernick. If he's in this league, if Johnny Manziel's in this league, my goodness. All right, let me tell you who I see. Good morning, everybody. Anthony Del Toro, Jason Paniagua, Tracy Bogert, the chairman of the Bexar County MAGA Republicans, coronavirus deniers, and Vladimir Putin sympathizers. Good to see you this morning. Big fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene. He's got the T-shirt. Is Tracy Bogert. Hector Gomez, good morning. James Rippey. No relation to Rodney Allen Rippey that I am aware of. Steve Duraco, the original Rock, the original Italian Stallion. Sam Tobias, the pride of HEB. I think I said hello to Hector Gomez. Lucinda Sullivan. My coffee cup is empty. I need more coffee. I've already guzzled serious coffee this morning. Jesse Bratton, what is up? Jesse says, USFL, too much chatter hearing wired players and commentators. There was a lot of chatter and a lot of very loud calls at the line of scrimmage calling the signals. You know, if you've got really good commentators, it's nice to hear the signals called, but I agree it was too loud. John Williams, Mike Riley's the coach of the New Jersey Generals. Yeah. That doesn't move the needle for me, though. I mean, I like him. He's a good man. But Lucinda, I wouldn't turn it on. That's just wrong. Justin Verlander looking sharp. Yeah, who is on the mound? Party foul on empty. I'm working on that. I'm going to fill it up right now. My cup will runneth over here in a second. What was I going to look at? Oh, I was going to look at the Astros. Who's pitching tonight in the home opener? Luis Garcia, who is 0-0 with a 0.00 ERA. So I guess we're seeing Luis Garcia for the first time. Angels are 6-4. So it's a battle for first place. Astros 5-4. Dodgers have won 6 in a row. They're 7-2. Rangers are idle. What's the Rangers? What is the Rangers record? 2-7. Dead last in the AL West. And is that the worst record in baseball? Yes, it is. Nope. Cincinnati Reds are 2-8. It's the worst record in the American League. God. Come on, Rangers. So, do you mean, Tracy, the Miami Hurricanes and the USC Trojans? I got a feel. I mean, Lincoln Riley has loaded up on that transfer portal. Granted, I'm a USC partisan, so I am always delusional about all my teams: Spurs, Cowboys, Astros, Trojans. So, but I think they're looking good. We shall see. Coffee time. I got a brand new coffee maker at home. I was doing the K-Cups, and the K-Cups just weren't working for me. I had been doing them for a while. And I prefer the traditionally brewed coffee. It just tastes better. It stays hot longer. So there's that. And I drive to work at about 4:30 in the morning. Starbucks doesn't open until 5, and I'm usually in the parking lot by 5. I would pick up my own darn coffee at a Starbucks if I could, but they're not open when I'm driving into work, so I got to make my own. I could drink the coffee here, but I think you know what that's all about. We had it once, and want to say this nicely. Someone in the building is very overzealous about scrubbing out the coffee makers, and the coffee, I guess the rinse was a difficult thing. So the coffee here tasted like soap. So I make my own darn coffee. The coffee's free here. If the coffee tasted good, Charlie Parker drinks it. If the coffee tasted good, I'd be all over it. Beth Settle, good morning. You are up early, Beth. Wearing my minor league baseball Columbia Fireflies t-shirt that was gifted to me by a listener back when we were in the other building a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. There you go, Sam. Coffee run number 340, presented by the Chris Duel Coffee Strato Tanker. There it is. That is a big ol' and HEB brand there, Sam. Cody. Thank you. Because I work in radio, I can't afford Yeti, but I can afford the HEB Cody. By the way, Cody's at Port Aransas has very, very good tilapia fish tacos. Just a little random tip for you there. Luisa Alanis, good morning. Welcome in. Luisa, you are going to like the high five play of the day coming right up because you're a big time Texas Longhorn partisan. So I'll give you that little preview. Sam Tobias, I've seen bigger tumblers. Well, then I might have to get a bigger tumbler, Sam. Although this one's already pretty, I'm getting a little concerned about my coffee consumption. We still have these Burger Boy. We got these Burger Boy stickers all over the studio. They were left here by, and I got to get him on the show, hopefully this week. Dylan Emery, the blue collar sports dad. Burger Boy was a big sponsor of his show. So we are overrun by Burger Boy merch, if you can call stickers merch. There you go, Jason. Well, and once I pulled into a Whataburger on the way to work at about 4:40, and maybe I'll try that again. But see, what scares me is if I don't make my own coffee and I pull into a Whataburger, what if they're closed? What if they're out of coffee? And sometimes there's a car in front of you and I'm running late. So, but I may have to look into that. Here we go.
We're back. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. 707-9760.
And that's just one way you can get in touch with us. And you're welcome. You're always welcome on the phone lines. We're nice. We don't bite. Even if you say something outrageous, we might roll our eyes, but we won't go all Kyrie Irving on you and flip you off. Well, maybe we will. It's radio. You wouldn't even know if we were flipping you off unless you were watching the live video feed. Maybe that's what we'll start doing. Is we'll be very polite on the phone calls, and then you'll see us flip you off, which I'm not doing that. I'm a gentleman. I'm not even giving the example of that. Sorry, Kyrie. Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. In a moment, the high five play of the day, but want to remind you other ways you can get in touch with us. That free iHeartRadio app. We are always crystal clear on that iHeartRadio app, by the way. Lots of ways you can do it. If you've got a smart speaker in your home or in your office, all I have to do on mine is say, Alexa, play Ticket 760, or Alexa, play AM 1300 The Zone, and it will play it crystal clear, which is beautiful. But if you listen to us on the iHeartRadio app on your phone, on the bottom of the screen, there's a microphone button. You can talk back to us instantly. And it doesn't take any time at all. Well, it takes 30 seconds to do. If you, or less, you want to leave a 15-second message, it only takes 15. But we get that message instantly. We do pay attention. We play those on the air. You've left some really, really good ones in the past few days, so that's cool. We will talk more NBA basketball. We'll talk USFL football. Man, speaking of the NBA, DeMar DeRozan, in his first playoff game with the Chicago Bulls, did not deliver the goods like he did throughout the regular season. We'll get into that. And by the way, that Houston Astros game tonight, the first game at Minute Maid Park, it is a battle for first place. I know it's early in the AL West. The Angels are now 6-4, and the Astros are a half game behind them at 5-4. So if the Astros win tonight, they'll leapfrog back into first place in the American League West. So that's pretty cool and something to keep an eye on. All right. Lots more coming up. Shannon Salty Shakedown just after 7:30, along with sports history and sports birthdays. But right now, let's give out a high five. We love doing this because we should. We scour the sports world all weekend long and see who is most deserving of a high five, and we call it the high five play of the day. It is appropriately sponsored by High Five, 2 locations in the Austin area. Someday there will be a location in the San Antonio area. I am willing to trade a Las Palapas to Austin for a high five. I'm still waiting back on that trade. I may even throw in Baker Mayfield because he lives in Austin. He's got nothing else going on. So I may trade Las Palapas and Baker Mayfield to Austin, which wouldn't make sense because Baker lives in Austin, for high five. Or maybe they'll give us Baker Mayfield because nobody else wants him. Shannon, tell the people and tell Baker Mayfield, if he's listening this morning, about High Five.
Well, with Baker probably not continuing to get a big boy NFL contract like he might have saw himself getting, it's half off on Mondays at High Five for all of their fun and experiences. So go check it out. Today's High Five, as Chris teased during the break on the video feed, goes to a Longhorn because the Longhorns are back-to-back champs in the world of the PGA. Scotty Scheffler wins the Masters 1 week, and Jordan Spieth wins the RBC Heritage this last weekend. He wins on Easter, sir, because he won last Easter when he was in San Antonio for the Valero Texas Open. But it was a huge win for Jordan. He actually had to compete in a playoff against Patrick Cantlay in order to get the victory. It was really great after he had finished his fourth round, which, by the way, Saturday was not the best day. He said he went home and was really distraught about how he played. He missed a 4-foot putt, which for anyone who knows Jordan Spieth, I mean, that is kind of his bread and butter is his putting and his ability to hole out. So for him to miss that 4-footer on 18 on Saturday, to leave that day with that taste in his mouth was not great. But he finished his fourth round and realized he may be going into a playoff, and he came across a group of kids who wanted his autograph, and he said, hey, there might be a playoff, so I'm going to go inside and rest. I promise you, whether there is a playoff and I win or lose, or if there's not a playoff, I will come back out here and sign stuff for you guys. But right now I need to go in and rest to get ready just in case. And so not only did he make good on that promise, but he came back as a winner for those kids. When he did finally win the tournament, his wife, Annie, came running. There's some jokes out there that she's holding their baby who was born in November, their son, Sammy. So not only is it his first win in a while, his 13th win on the PGA Tour, it is his first win as a father. And for those that are curious, the payout for this one was $1.4 million. That is how much Jordan Spieth walked away with. Patrick Cantlay, who ultimately came in second, $872,000. So 1.4 mil. Yeah, I'd take that. That's worth running with my baby across the greens for. You betcha.
Very cool. And wow, Shannon, Jordan Spieth, as you mentioned, second consecutive year he wins on Easter Sunday. You mentioned last year's Valero Texas Open. You know, they called Reggie Jackson Mr. October. We got to start calling Jordan Spieth Mr. Easter. It'll be interesting to see, or maybe Jordan the Bunny Spieth. I don't know. We got to come up with something. That is so cool. I love the story about the kids. And the autographs. And I mean, he was being real and he was being fair and accommodating to young fans. He had work to do. He had rest to do. He was in the middle of a huge tournament that could win him $1.4 million, as we now know it did. So just to let those kids know, I'm not being a jerk. I'm not blowing you off. I'll come back and sign, when I'm free after this tournament. And all the more cool for those kids that he came back a champion and signed all of the autographs and the merch and whatever they wanted signed. And Shannon, we got to start not only calling Jordan Spieth Mr. Easter, but as you mentioned, Scotty Scheffler the week before, the Texas Longhorn domination of golf. I mean, it is quickly becoming a golf factory, a golf mecca. And just add those to, all of the accolades that goes to Texas Longhorn athletics. I think anytime one of these Longhorns wins a big tournament, that shines a light on the University of Texas. And I think it shines a light on everything to do with the university. I was going to say all athletics, but even academics. I think people, they go, oh my God, Scotty Scheffler, Jordan Spieth, here we go. There's another win for a Longhorn. That's a cool thing.
I love the kid story too. And just thinking, if I was one of those kids, like, I get to see Jordan Spieth again. Like, I just saw him. Not to mention the PGA camera crews were on that first instance. So they have video with Jordan Spieth, and then he was willing to come back, and he came back as a champion. So for those kids, I think that just probably made the experience that much better. But yes, we love Jordan Spieth. We love that he represents the University of Texas well, alongside Scotty Scheffler. I I don't know what the team looks like now, golf wise, but yeah, it as far as recruiting goes, I think they cover it themselves for Texas golf.
Yeah, we might have to start paying more attention to the current Texas golf team and get to know their names, because we may be hearing a lot more from them. It's interesting you bring up the story, Shannon, about the kids, and it just brings back memories for me. And he's often in here, my friend Steve Duraco. When we were kids going to the Hemisphere Arena, and season 1, I was 13, he was 14, so we couldn't even drive yet. We had to ride a bus down to the Hemisphere Arena to see the Spurs. And not only the Spurs were so accessible and cool, signing autographs. Back then, George Gervin, James Silas, and yes, Gervin arrived in January of season 1. He wasn't there at the very, very beginning. But there was a guy named Swin Nader. They had a big enforcer guy who was like mean to other teams, but so nice to us. His name was Rich Jones, number 33. He became my favorite Spur just because he was so nice to us, before the games. And it wasn't just the Spurs. It was the whole ABA. We would walk over to the opposing locker room as those players would walk out for opening warmups. I remember, and I got a Polaroid photo and an autograph of Artis Gilmore of the Kentucky Colonels, who was 7'2", went on to become a Spur at one point in his career later, and is in the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. It's just, it's so nice when these big time athletes treat kids well. And I know the NBA now, and we'll get into NBA basketball. It's harder now to get access than it was certainly when I was a kid, but it can still be done. And we've seen kids and adults. Our good friend Taro Kotani, the greatest international Spurs fan from Tokyo, he comes to town, and I see him getting access and autographs. And I know the Spurs try their best, even though the demand is now so high on these athletes, and they're international superstars. But and this may lead us into Kyrie Irving talk. Kudos to players who are good to kids, most importantly, and first and foremost. And I think if you can be good to fans, you should as well. Kyrie Irving, who played in Boston, and granted, and I've said this, I think Boston fans can be very obnoxious, and to me, they are akin to Philadelphia fans. And while, yes, in this moment, I paint with a broad brush, I know for Philadelphia fans like Bill Schoening, whom we love, Carl Schoening, whom we love, I know there are very good, very kind, very knowledgeable fans who are not jerks like so many of the fans in Boston and Philadelphia get reputations for. So I've got kind of mixed emotions on Kyrie Irving, Shannon, and I want to get Jeremy's thoughts because he was locked in on that game between the Brooklyn Nets and the Boston Celtics at TD Garden in Boston. But apparently Kyrie Irving, multiple times, he was booed just about every time he touched the ball. He had a great game from what I understand, but multiple times he just flipped off the fans. And I just wonder, Shannon, I think if you're being heckled, Tim Duncan famously, when players would try to razz him and fans, he was stoic. He would not let you know it got to him. Maybe it didn't get to him. Maybe he was so evolved and Zen-like it wouldn't get to him. But I think there's something to be said for not retaliating and not reacting. And even though I'm sure some horrible things were being yelled at Kyrie Irving, I'm a little disappointed in him for flipping the fans off. What do you think, Shannon? Was he justified in giving them the one finger salute?
I don't think it's ever justified, because I think part of being an athlete and a professional athlete, going to, enemy territory, that any sort of, flack you might get from them should be expected. And then on top of that, you add the situation with the Celtics and Kyrie Irving and how he was a part of that organization and pledged to be a part of them for a very long time, and ultimately left and jumped ship so he could team up with Kevin Durant and be a part of the Nets. And now we're into the playoffs. So you just add that extra pressure and that extra heat, and those fans, not only wanting to beat you because they want to beat you, but want to beat you because they want to continue on in the playoffs. And it just makes him look silly to do that, especially when they end up losing, especially when they end up losing in the fashion that they did. He still had a great game, but ultimately they lost by a point to the Celtics and they're down in the series. And so now we just look back at that and think, now they're going to say, well, that didn't even matter. Why give that to the fans who I know after the game and being questioned about the fans and the interaction, and he kept saying they're not a thing, bro. They're not a part of it. Well, clearly they're a part of it when you're engaging and doing things.
They're a huge part of it.
Like that, and you need them in order to do your job. That is how you make your money, sir. So don't do them like that. But sometimes I get that they may take it too far, right? Some fans have just been ridiculous, and we've seen that, I feel like, more than usual in this kind of post-pandemic fandom. People, it's like they hadn't, there's the joke like, oh man, this person doesn't know how to live in society. Well, we didn't live in society for a little bit, but I'm watching this man behind Kyrie Irving when he does the double bird. He kind of does it secretively. At first, when I heard he did double bird behind his head, I thought he was kind of doing like bunny rabbit ears or something, but he's actually almost hiding it from the camera because we've seen the NBA fine people a lot lately for these types of things. And I'm sure we'll get one today for Kyrie. And I don't know, I'm going to say 45,000 for his fine for each bird he threw. 15K.
One of the most recent ones was 30. Yeah. Coming up, Jeremy KOLOK was locked in on that Brooklyn-Boston game. We will get his thoughts on Kyrie Irving's behavior on that game, and we'll walk through all the NBA games. Of course, more USFL talk, NFL draft. We will dive into that. Major League Baseball, Houston Astros battling the Angels tonight. First game at Minute Maid Park of the season for the Astros. Lots coming at you. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Chris Duel Show. Hey, Jason, I meant to say that on the air right after the high five, your high five to the Bernie Greyhounds. I'm going to leave that up, and I will do that coming back. So I appreciate that. Sam says, I'm not really interested in the USFL. I'm more interested in UTSA, as in Roadrunners football. Well, yeah, Sam, but other than the spring game, they're not going to be playing in April or May. I mean, I get it. And yes, once football season rolls around, but I was hoping that USFL football would intrigue us. But I get it. I'm beginning to believe, Sam, that a lot of people are with you. They've got other things they're more interested in. But I will continue to believe and live by more football is good football. Because it's the way it is. It's the way it should be. And even if I'm the only viewer, even if USFL football is only viewed by me, I'm going to watch. Because it's football. God's sport. All right. I should record some R&R auto glass spots. We'll see if that happens here. I'll be back in a few. Let me see if Mike Taylor is kind enough to sit in. Always try to minimize the glare. It's always a good idea. Thank you, Mike Taylor. Woo! Woo! Wes Perkins says, I'm not interested in a league other than the NFL unless San Antonio has a team in it. All right. Jason Paniagua, I'm okay with the USFL, but not excited by it, if that makes sense. I do enjoy the helmet cam so far. Sam Tobias, I think that when it comes to the USFL, this is this thought. We've seen it before and we've seen it fail before. We're just waiting for the inevitable. Ouch. Thank you, Robert Browning. You're very kind, sir. I appreciate that. Gosh, maybe this is the week, Robert. I got to work on the flag, man. This is the first full week after the Spurs season came to an end. I kind of recovered over the weekend because it winds up. I wind up with a lot of sleep deprivation during that Spurs season. So this is like my catch up on my sleep phase of my life. But so it's like, during the week, if there was a Spurs game at night, I'd try to nap midday to like bank some sleep for that. And then there'd be the Spurs game. Then there'd be like a 3 hours of sleep and then the show. And then I'd need a nap. So that kind of was a cycle. So, now I have more time to do stuff. Yep. Luis says, with West does not find the USFL interesting. $8 to 10 days to mail. Robert, when are you making the climb? Once, I think you said May, right? So I better hurry is the message there. I want to remember the Bernie Greyhounds shout out. And Jason, I'm assuming that's boys soccer. Am I assuming correctly? Yeah, boys. Second stride just pulled up a story. Here comes a Bernie Greyhounds link for people who are interested. Here we come. I got to mute a little bit for our evil Facebook overlords. Destroyers of all that is good. Try to kill our video feed when they hear music. How dare they? Not today, Zuckerberg. Not today.
Now, Chris Duel.
It's just another manic Monday.
Welcome into a Manic Monday. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, Jeremy KOLOK, the hardest working man in radio, making the show go. He's your Soundscape stylist and your chief meteorologist. while on this Manic Monday, we get bonus football because last night's game between the Tampa Bay Bandits and the Pittsburgh Maulers was postponed due to rain. So they're going to play that one again tonight. If you didn't get a chance to sample USFL football, the United States Football League, in its reboot, they're going to do that tonight. You got some Astros baseball tonight. The Astros home opener at Minute Maid Park, 7:10 first pitch for the Astros. They're now 5-4 after a 3-1 start. They take on the LA Angels. In fact, they went 3-1 opening up against the Angels. So hopefully they can get well and win a number of these games, if not sweep the Angels at Minute Maid Park and move beyond them back into first place. That would be sweet. Lots to talk about, from the NBA playoffs over the weekend to the NFL and the NFL draft coming up in this hour just after 7:30. Shannon's Salty Shakedown. This day in sports history, sports birthdays, lots of ways you can participate in the show. You can join us on the live video feed. You can get there through Facebook Live, Twitter, or YouTube. One of the cool things that we now do, it's relatively new, it's the talkback feature on the free iHeart Radio app, where you can always hear us crystal clear. You can go listen via AM 1300 The Zone or Ticket 760 on the iHeart Radio app. And Shannon, you've got a good question for our listeners and viewers that they can react to. And we want to know on the iHeart Radio app, how should we? I mean, I usually say the dark ages or the dog days of sports begin when the Spurs are eliminated. I got football. It's called USFL football, but what are you watching? What should you watch? Shannon, talk to us about the question that we're posing and you're posing on the iHeartRadio app.
Yeah, I mean, especially for me too. Again, this is very personal. For just Chris and I want answers. The fall and winter and early spring, very, very busy. You know, playoffs and football and college and NFL and then college basketball and the NBA. Obviously, Chris is doing Spurs nearly every other night. So time is a little, it's harder to make time for things like TV shows, especially when they all come out at once, right? It's like, I can't sit here and consume 8 episodes of this. So it's hard. And I feel like a lot of it gets lost in the shuffle. I'm not great about writing down TV shows or recommendations. I'm like, I'll get to it when I get to it. And then the time comes and I'm bored and I'm sitting in front of my TV looking at the umpteen million apps that I have, not knowing which one to go to or what show I should actually watch. So now that I feel like Chris and I have a little more time on our hands, we're keeping up with the NBA playoffs and obviously the Astros. Jury's still out on the USFL, at least for me. I've been playing way too much MLB The Show. I need actual television or movies to watch. So give us a talk back. Send us something. Tell me why. And make sure to tell me where I can find it too, because that is huge these days. Don't just give me a show. I need to know where to find it, because if I get frustrated, I will give up. I'm a giver-upper on show searching if I can't find it. And I don't want to pay for it either. I want it to all be on one of those apps. Don't tell me something to go rent. Don't say go to HEB and go to Redbox. That's not going to happen. I want to be able to watch it on an app on TV. But use that talkback feature. It's really cool, and we'd love to hear from you what you're watching and what Chris and I should get into. Because obviously, Chris and I already watching Winning Time. We already assigned that homework to ourselves.
Yes.
That everyone get today. Today's the day, because it aired last night. So we'll be watching Winning Time today. That'll probably be the first thing I do when I get home. I'll do that and have lunch and get that homework assignment out of the way. But I'll be ready to roll into whatever's next at the suggestion of the listeners.
Yeah, I want to watch Winning Time. And by the way, that's on HBO and HBO Max. The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. Shannon, Jeremy, and I all like it. We give it a thumbs up. It's very enjoyable. It has been renewed for a second season. It is still in season 1. It's very, very good. But I got to watch it early in the day, because tonight, as I mentioned, USFL football, Tampa Bay Bandits, Pittsburgh Maulers. There is more NBA playoff action tonight. We'll get into that. And if I can find the Astros game anywhere, it's they're kind of hard to find these days. I can see a lot of Rangers baseball on my television, but it's the Angels and the Astros tonight, 7:10 first pitch from Minute Maid Park. I did want to say this, and he posted it for us, Shannon, during the high five play of the day. Jason Paniagua, who joins us frequently in the morning on our live video feed, says a high five to the Bernie Greyhounds boys soccer team for winning back-to-back 4A state championships over the weekend in soccer. They won their second in a row. They defeated a high school named Celina, Celina, or Celina, 2-1. That was a come from behind. They were down 1-0, if I want to use soccer terminology, and apparently a game-winning penalty kick by Jess Gonzalez, and goalkeeper Noah Lamaster was named the most valuable player for the Bernie Greyhounds. So via Jason, and we're all about the shout outs. If there's something on your radar, especially in the world of sports, that we haven't given a shout out for, do it like Jason just did. So shout out to the Bernie Greyhounds. Hard to win one state championship, Shannon. You go back to back. That's pretty darn formidable. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, huge. And at that young age, that's something they'll be talking about for years and years to come.
And by the way, Wes Perkins reminding us, and I thought it was April 15th, Friday, but apparently tax day is actually today, April 18th. So if you're a procrastinator, and like I've been a procrastinator most of my life, a little warning there from Wes on Facebook Live. Let's talk some NBA, and we'll dive in with Jeremy on and I would say that was the marquee game yesterday and last night. TD Garden in Boston. Celtics and the Brooklyn Nets go down to the wire. Celtics win it 115-114. What was interesting there is we were waiting to see, Brooklyn Nets with Kevin Durant, with Kyrie Irving, with a lot of guns on that team. Were they going to be able to flip the switch and take game one in this series and steal home court away from the Celtics? It ends at the end, a layup by Jason Tatum to win it 115-114. Jason Tatum wound up with 31 points and 8 assists. We mentioned Kyrie Irving flipping off the fans throughout the game who were booing him. Kyrie, 39 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Jeremy KOLOK, talk to us about this game. What stuck out to you as you watched it, and your thoughts on the Boston Celtics fans' behavior with regard to Kyrie Irving and his behavior flipping them off multiple times.
Chris, this matchup is by far the best matchup of the first round. It's really unfair to both teams that they got matched up in this first round, because one of them obviously is going to have to go home after this first round matchup. And when Kyrie Irving is in the news and he's not on my screen playing basketball currently, like in that moment, then I get annoyed every single time. I wish every headline is more annoying than the last. And he's just kind of an annoying dude. He seems very entitled, and whatever, he's very spiritual, and like he's a free thinker, I would say. And that's fine. All that, that's fine. But to me, I try to focus on what he does on the basketball court. I try not to let him get to me, because he'll certainly get to you. He certainly can. And what I can't deny is when this dude steps onto the basketball court, you take away everything else, he is phenomenal. I mean, he's the best player on the court, or at least he was yesterday, because Kevin Durant didn't have a very good game. And so I'm just watching this, and of course, first of all, I don't think that Boston should. Obviously, Boston fans don't like Kyrie. I don't think that's a problem. Kyrie doesn't like Boston fans. I don't think that's a problem either. I think it's almost like a healthy relationship based on what went down between them. And if you remember, when Kyrie, the first time he went to Boston, when fans weren't allowed back in the arena, he stomped his foot on the Leprechaun's head on the center court logo. So this has kind of been brewing. We've kind of were robbed of that first opportunity to see him back in Boston. So I was waiting for this game for a long time, and I feel like it's healthy that they don't like each other. That's just how I feel, and it's it's a playoffs atmosphere, and both teams wanna move on and really just don't like the other. So I didn't really have a problem with it. Now, when you throw in we're throwing up the bird, when you put that in, Kyrie Irving is going to be fined $50,000. That's the most
Whoa.
they can fine him for this, and that's what they're gonna fine him, in my opinion. He's gonna get fined, and I don't think he has a problem with that. I think he knows he was gonna get fined with doing that, and that's kind of the opportunity cost of he wanted to show these Boston fans kinda that he is taking it personally, certainly. And on the other side of that, Chris, it's one thing, and Shannon, it's one thing to throw up your middle finger and to shoot like 7 for 20 or something, because Kyrie Irving has had some bad games in the playoffs in his past, specifically when he wasn't with LeBron. But Kyrie Irving shot lights out yesterday. He
Mhm.
was incredible. He had 39 points. He went 8 for 10 from 3, and he's going against Marcus Smart, who may win the defensive player of the year. In my opinion, he's the best defender in the league, and Marcus Smart is in his grill on every jump shot. Kyrie's getting yelled at by the fans behind his back on every jump shot, and he's just draining them. They only lost by 1 point. They're on the road, so they could still steal a game,
Yeah.
right? They could still steal home court advantage. And on that last play, the amount of things that needed to go perfect for the Celtics to win that game. I mean, Marcus Smart had to pump fake so that both defenders go flying by him. They gamble. Instead of taking that shot and probably bricking it, he makes the pass to Jason Tatum and hits him in the chest, because if he throws it at his ankles, there's not enough time. Tatum catches it, and somehow, instead of barreling through Kyrie, which probably would have been a charge because Kyrie was set outside of the restricted area, Tatum predetermined in his head that if I catch this, I'm going to spin and I'm going to already be in the motion of going up in the layup so that I don't run out of time. And all of that had to go perfectly. And like I said, Kyrie was in a position for a charge, so it very easily could have gone that way. All those things had to go perfectly for the Celtics to win by 1 point at home against the Nets. So watch out for Kyrie. And can I just throw out one more thing? This guy is fasting for Ramadan. This guy, well,
Whoa.
he scored 39 points, and every time he goes to the bench, he's not drinking any water. He hadn't had food. He's fasting, and he's the best player on the basketball court. So just from a basketball perspective, I mean, he's having a historic performance, and I'm just going to enjoy it for now, because this series is far and away the best series of the first round.
Wow, tremendous description and perspective there from Jeremy. I did not realize that Kyrie Irving is fasting for Ramadan. That's news I did not know, which is fascinating. And Shannon, Jeremy also mentioned Kevin Durant did not have a good game. Kevin Durant, 41 minutes, 9 of 24 from the field. Well below 50%, 1 of 5 from 3-point range. You lose this game by 1. Kevin Durant had a minus 13 in the plus minus. He scored 23 points, while Kyrie Irving scored 39. But if Kevin Durant hits one more shot, he would still have a bad percentage. If he goes 9 of 24 from the field, if he goes 10 of 24, or if he hits another 3-point shot, he was 1 of 5. If he would have hit 2 of 5, just a tinge better yesterday by Kevin Durant, Shannon, and you could argue the Brooklyn Nets would have won this basketball game. And I mean, if they would have punched Boston in the mouth in game 1 and took this game, given all the firepower they have and two superstars in Durant and Kyrie Irving, man, that would have been a huge statement by the Celtics. Excuse me, by the Brooklyn Nets.
Sure. And especially, we're still waiting to see the Brooklyn Nets do what we were told that they would do the second this pairing of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving came to be. And through all of the mishaps of injuries and COVID and the James Harden experiment, we've really yet to see it come to fruition. And now they're starting their playoff run 0-1 to the Boston Celtics in obviously a close one. So it's not like they got blown out and, that's like it's already over and written on the wall, but certainly not the way that they wanted to get things started. And, I woke up this morning and there was a meme of Kevin Durant about Jason Tatum, who crossed him over, and Kevin Durant, or the Durantula. I mean, that's what he looks like because his body is contorted as his ankles are being broken, and he's so lengthy and skinny. It just I'm not familiar with Kevin Durant memes. Like usually he is the one posterizing people, and he's on the other end of it now. I can't imagine what the narrative might be if Brooklyn does get bounced this early in the playoffs. And now what is this, year 3 of them being together?
I mean, think so.
I mean,
yeah.
How much more of this are
Although
they
Durant
willing
was out,
to?
Durant was out with an injury that first year, so
Right.
I think it is year 3, but I think it's the second year that Durant's been healthy and able to play.
And then you had Kyrie out for most of this year and last. So it's how much more are we willing to, or are they really willing to put up with it? And do either of those guys feel like, you know what, I want to go somewhere where I might actually win a ring because this experiment's not working.
Another quick sidelight to that game between the Celtics and the Nets for Spurs fans. Each team has a notable, well, the Brooklyn Nets have 2 of them, former Spurs, one for the Celtics and Derek White. None of them really contributing in a big way. Patty Mills for the Nets, off the bench, just played 12 minutes. Hit a 3-point shot, but that was it. He had only 3 points. LaMarcus Aldridge did not play. Coach's decision on LaMarcus. Derek White, who I expected with Ime Udoka as the head coach of the Celtics, a former Spurs assistant. He knows Derek White very, very well. That trade before the trade deadline between the Spurs and the Celtics sent Derek White to the Celtics. I thought Derek White would have more of an impact. Maybe he will later in the playoffs, but that was not the case yesterday. Off the bench, he did play 28 minutes, but just 3 of 8 from the field, 1 of 4 from three-point country, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. Derek White only had 7 points. So none of those former Spurs made much of a difference. And another former Spur that I think was notable, Shannon, was DeMar DeRozan and his lack of production in another really good Eastern Conference matchup, defending NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks in their series game 1 against the Chicago Bulls, where DeRozan was phenomenal throughout much of the season. Bucks beat the Bulls 93-86. They take the 1-0 lead, but DeMar DeRozan was being, talked about as an MVP candidate. He was really playing well in the regular season, and I think Spurs fans were surprised at how good DeMar DeRozan was playing. Now, one of his reputations in Toronto all those years was not delivering the goods in the playoffs like he should, and that kind of reared its ugly head for the Chicago Bulls yesterday. Shannon, DeMar DeRozan played 43 minutes, went 6 of 25 from the field. That is god awful. I mean, that's much worse than Kevin Durant was yesterday. 6 of 25 from the field, 0 of 2 from three-point country. DeMar DeRozan finishes with 18 points. He had 8 rebounds and 6 assists. But the Bulls, if they're going to be in this series against the Milwaukee Bucks, DeMar DeRozan has to do a whole lot better than 6 of 25 from the field.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate to see that he's already off to a rough start, because that's kind of becoming his thing, right? That he can't make that final push. And for a guy who's, an upstanding dude, and then obviously a great player. I mean, last year with the Spurs, people were begging to see him be named an all-star. He goes to the Bulls. He demands himself with his play on the court to be an all-star. He finally gets there. But now playoff DeRozan, where you at? Where you at, buddy?
Yeah. And as you mentioned, a great guy. I want DeRozan to succeed. Jeremy, want to get your thoughts on DeMar DeRozan. Kind of, hopefully he bounces back, but man, this is certainly his playoff rep, dating all the way back to his time with the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried about this, because if you look at how they did this regular season, they really struggled against the higher talent teams in the league, kind of the upper tier teams. They struggled against good teams, Chris, Shannon, and in the playoffs, there's nothing left but good teams. So that's not really a good formula.
All right, lots more coming at you, including Shannon Salty Shakedown. We've got your sports history, sports birthdays. We'll talk more NBA playoffs. We'll preview tonight's NBA playoffs. We'll talk more football, not only USFL, but NFL draft. We are only 10 days away from the NFL draft. We'll dive into that. What about Baker Mayfield? What about Cam Newton? Lots of ground to cover there. We'll take your phone calls throughout the morning, 800-707-9760. You can talk back to us instantly on the free iHeartRadio app. Among the things we want to know, what should we be watching on our TV, sports or otherwise? We recommend Winning Time, Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. What's on your streaming radar? We want to know. Let us know on Talkback on the iHeartRadio app. Salty Shakedown coming up, sports history, sports birthdays. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy KOLOK makes the show go. With you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Jason, I saw that stat, and that is crazy. That is an amazing statistic. And a credit clearly to the Lakers and the Spurs all these years. Whoa! All right, back in a sec. Heat up some coffee. Let me see if Mike Taylor will sit in. Thank you, Mike.
Situations with Armed Forces Supply, the largest military surplus supplier in San Antonio, local and family run. They buy and sell tactical gear, uniforms, gas masks, helmets, MREs, and much more. Open weekdays 10 to 6, Saturdays 10 to 5. Law enforcement and military get 10% off with proper ID. Armed Forces Supply, located at 9218 Converse Business Lane or 2415 Harry Wurzbach Road. Online at afsurplus.com.
Thank you, Mike Taylor. And the Mike Taylor dancers. Here we come.
Let's get back to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty.
Welcome in on this manic Monday. Classic music provided unto you by Soundscape Stylist. Jeremy KOLOK. Lots to talk about. NBA playoffs, USFL football, Major League Baseball, Astros in a battle tonight with the LA Angels. 7:10 first pitch. 1/2 game. Astros are 1/2 game behind the Angels, so the Astros with a win tonight can move back into first place in the American League West. We will dive into the NFL draft and all the goings on in the National Football League. Your phone calls throughout the morning, always welcome. 800-707-9760. Don't forget about that free iHeartRadio app. We are asking you to talk back to us, among other things. What are your recommendations for streaming entertainment, whether it's sports and or drama, comedy, Netflix, Apple TV, HBO Max, Hulu? What are you watching? What should we watch? We want to know. We got a little more free time on our hands. So we want to check things out. We are going to watch our homework assignment. Yeah, just a little. We're not like, it's like we got nothing to do. Our homework assignment for the three of us, for Shannon, for Jeremy, and for me today is watch the latest episode, which dropped last night, of Winning Time, Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. I'm a big fan of that show. So is Shannon. So is Jeremy. We will report back to you on that tomorrow as well. So talk back to us on the free iHeartRadio app, and also you can join us on the live video feed as well. Shannon's Salty Shakedown is moments away, but first, how about some sports birthdays and this day in sports history? 1962, it was the 16th NBA championship, and the Boston Celtics beat the LA Lakers 4-3. No surprise there, as they usually did whenever it was Celtics-Lakers back in the day. This day in 1966, Bill Russell becomes the first African-American coach in NBA history, as he becomes a player coach of the Boston Celtics. That's pretty cool, and a lot of people forget about that. Bill, we talked about Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier in Major League Baseball. Jackie Robinson Day was last week. Bill Russell, among all of his accomplishments in his Hall of Fame career, that was a big deal when he became head coach of the Boston Celtics. This day in 1968, it was the first ABA championship series that got underway between the Pittsburgh Pipers and the New Orleans Bucks. That's right, it was Pipers versus Bucks. Now, this just goes to show, as we talk about things like the USFL, little did people in San Antonio know that their basketball future was depending on the ABA, the American Basketball Association, of which 5 years later, The Spurs would be in town, moving from where they were as the Dallas Chaparrals in that league. If the ABA goes under and does not survive into 1973 and beyond, the Spurs would not exist today. So you never know where your fate may be in the world of sports. Finally, on this day in 1998, it was the NFL draft, and the Indianapolis Colts choose not to go with Ryan Leaf out of Washington State. They choose Tennessee quarterback Peyton Manning with the first overall pick. I'd say that kind of worked out. That's your sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1948, NBA guard Nate Tiny Archibald. He was tiny. He was like 5'9"-ish, maybe even less than that. He went to Cincinnati, but he was born on this day in New York City. Born on this day in 1962, Football Hall of Fame linebacker with the Chicago Bears. Played a little bit with the Washington football team, but part of that 85 Bears Super Bowl winning team. Went to the University of Florida. Linebacker Wilbur Marshall. He was born in Titusville, Florida. Born on this day in 1965, American basketball coach and member of the Greg Popovich coaching tree, because he was a Spurs assistant, but a head coach with the Chicago Bulls, 2018 to 2019, University of Utah, 2007 to 2011. Jim Boylan. Jim Boylan was born in East Grand Rapids, Michigan. And finally, born on this day in 1970, Pro Football Hall of Fame offensive tackle with the New Orleans Saints. My buddy Steve Duraco and I were introduced to him by James Allen at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Willie Roaf. Willie Roaf was born in Pine Bluff, Arkansas on this day in 1970. Those are your sports birthdays. That's your sports history. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, farm animals, pole assassins, and monkeys, here it is, your Manic Monday Salty Shakedown.
Chris, we are asking folks for recommendations of what to watch today on our Talk Back feature, because we do find ourselves with just a little bit more time on hand. And maybe I should watch this movie because I actually have never seen it, but Castaway, which of course is a Tom Hanks movie, and everybody knows Wilson. Even I know Wilson, the beach volleyball that was stranded there with him, but was not expecting for Wilson to make an appearance last week. On Friday, Tom Hanks was invited to throw out the first pitch of the Cleveland Guardians game. He's been a Cleveland fan for a very long time. And with him, he brought Wilson, which I don't know. I guess he hasn't deflated after all these years. The fun part was that obviously he's throwing the first pitch. He's on the mound. He puts Wilson down, which is a volleyball for those that aren't aware, and it rolled away. So he went and he picked it up and he put it back down, and then it rolled away even further. So Wilson misbehaving a little bit out there. Now, Chris, have you seen this movie? And if so, what is the importance of Wilson making an appearance at this particular time for the Cleveland Guardians?
Yeah, I saw Castaway. I loved it. I highly recommend it. I don't know how Wilson ties into the Cleveland Guardians and the Tom Hanks, I guess. Jeremy, do you what was that character from Cleveland? I'd have to check that. I don't know. I don't know how it ties. I mean, it's kind of cool. It's pop culture-ish. So Shannon, you got to add Castaway and Field of Dreams to your classic movie list. I mean, you're looking for things to look at.
Yeah.
There's two right there.
It would appear so.
I would say.
But with graphics and everything, it's kind of hard to go back in time now. But I'll consider it in my future watching searches. All right, now, Jeremy, Chris, I need you to both take a deep breath. I don't want you to get upset with this next one, because as media members, they did us dirty in Florida. The Marlins, as we know, baseball season just begun, and a lot of teams, just like the Astros today, the Astros will be at home for the first time this season. So it's still an experience. We're still having home opening days. The Marlins had their opening day on Friday, and the media shows up. And for those that don't realize, much like, Chris and I's job is not just 6 to 9 a.m., right? There's stuff that goes on before and after. Media members who cover sports, they usually arrive very early because they want to get the lay of the land. They want to get, any final injuries or any reporting out there that needs to take place prior to the game. They also obviously sit through the whole game, watch it, take notes, tweet things out. Then there's post-game, there's interviews, there's checking up on maybe injuries that happened during the game, and then they do write-ups. So a lot of times they'll go back to the press box. So they are there hours before and sometimes hours after these events. So they drink a lot, and they probably eat a lot too. And most of the time, in fact, I have never, in my short-lived thus far media career, paid for anything in the press box, food or drink-wise. It's always free. And a lot of those guys go through a ton of soda because, as I said, they're there for long hours. It makes for long nights, depending on the game's end. So imagine their shock and anger upon appearing at the press box for the Marlins. And soda was being charged $3 a pop for media members to have soda. Each one. Now, media members being media members then tweeted about it. We're being charged $3 for sodas, and then they kind of poked fun of the organization, saying because of their financial situation with trades, they had to make up the money elsewhere. And by the $3, that's a lot for a soda when you're probably going to have 5 sodas throughout that time because you are staying there so long. Turns out, Chris and Jeremy, that the Marlins their upper brass, they never approved this change. A rogue employee from the dining department for the Marlins decided, I'm going to charge $3 to these media members because it's like they don't have a choice, right? They're not going to not eat and drink. I'm going to charge them $3 for every drink. I'm going to make a lot of money. This person then pocketed the $3 that he made for every soda he sold. No word yet on what's happened to this employee, who the employee was specifically, but my goodness, Chris. I mean, for one, what would be your reaction? You walk into a press box and you're being charged for your soda, and then to find out that it was a rogue employee who did it, trying to take advantage of the media.
It's a stunning story, Shannon. And as you document, media people, first of all, and a lot of them don't make a lot of money.
We get paid in free food.
Especially now. Yeah, in print, print media members, and I would even say radio aren't rolling in cash necessarily. So they are generating publicity for your team and for your sport, and it has been a tradition for decades, if not centuries, that somebody comes and covers your team. You give them some drinks and you give them some food. The Spurs have had great media meals before the game. You get not only your drinks, but there's a media cafeteria. You go in there, you eat your meal, you talk to everybody from the media before the game, and it's that way for a lot of teams. But yeah, A, to charge the money like that, and B, to find out not only was it a rogue employee, but that employee was pocketing the money and a little stupid, Shannon, because if anybody's going to tweet out and be social media consciousness, it's the media. The media is on social media. So yeah, I want to follow this one. I want to know the name, make this guy or gal famous, and I want to see when the hammer drops on this person.
Shout out Jerry Jones, even though the press box location in AT&T Stadium is odd because it's in a corner. Usually it's more, 50-yard line, a little more even shot, look at the field. He has hand-carved meats and a candy bar and free soda, all free. Once you've made it into that press box, it's beautiful. And one more thing on Jerry.
One more quick thing on Jerry. If you cover Cowboys training camp, at the end of training camp, Jerry takes all of the media out to a restaurant/bar, and Jerry pays for everything. So all you can drink, all you can eat at a really good. We once went to a place called Sky Bar in Los Angeles, which was a really trendy place in LA. Jerry picked up the tab for everything. Every member of the media who covered Cowboys training camp for several days ate and drank on Jerry's dime. So Jerry gets it. You keep the media happy.
I would very much like to go there and be a part of that experience. Let's try to make that happen. All right, finally, as we know, yesterday was Easter, and who comes on Easter but the Easter Bunny? Chris, Easter Bunny came a little early to my place. The Easter Bunny came Saturday, and it left behind baby bunnies, in a rabbit's nest in the yard. Now, someone had taken my dog out in the morning. And boyfriend was kind enough to take her out to go to the bathroom before I was ready to deal with the energy that is my little dachshund. And just, a note for people who aren't too familiar with dachshunds, they are known as badger hounds. They were bred specifically to hunt badgers, go into small, tiny crawl spaces and hunt down small animals. So imagine her excitement when she found a rabbit's nest. Apparently, she put her face in there and pulled out a little bunny and was running around the yard with it in her mouth. We were able to get it from her and put the bunny back with its bunny friends. But there is still a bunny nest with little bunnies in there that I'm now having to guard my dog against every time we take her out to go to the bathroom. So if anyone, this is more about me than the Shakedown. If anyone has any advice or anything to do, we have confirmed that the nest was not too disturbed, that the mother is still coming back and feeding and taking care of the babies. But I don't know what to do. How long is this going to last? How long am I going to have to play, the safekeeper between badger hound and bunny rabbits? This is not the Easter gift I wanted.
Wow, isn't Jeremy's mom a veterinarian?
Yeah.
Jeremy, you're going to have to put your mom in touch with Shannon on this one.
She come get the bunnies from our yard,
or at least consult on the phone.
Yeah, we can make that connection happen.
Wow, what a dilemma, Shannon, and how crazy that this happened on Easter Sunday.
Yeah,
how crazy that when the bunny comes, the bunnies really showed up. That is wild. That's a wild story.
Because we were like, okay, if the parent bunny does not come back to feed them, we can put them in a shoebox and we could take them to the a wildlife 24-hour vet clinic. There's one. We've had a bunny incident before with some of our other dachshunds. Unfortunately, some of those bunnies did not make it out alive, but the ones that did, we saved them. But because the mother or the parent, whatever, is coming back and continuing to care for them, we do not want to take the babies away from said parent. So it's just, it's a mess right now. It's a whole thing going on. But there it is. If you have any advice, hit me up on Twitter at Shannon B. Sweeney or give us a talk back about it. That's it. Today's Salty Shakedown.
Wow. And we get instant reply from Jeremy's mom, Dr. Gail Millard, who says, sadly, Shannon, not a lot of wild bunny knowledge. Sorry. So, I mean, we went to the one veterinarian we know, Jeremy's mom, and she's just not well versed in wild bunny rabbits. So, yeah, as Shannon said, Talkback, the free iHeartRadio app, if you've got any advice for Shannon, or call us at 800-707-9760. Jeremy's mom said, I feel so inadequate. Come on. You're like one of the greatest veterinarians in the world. Not everybody's up on their wild bunny rabbits. That is crazy, not. Shannon. You're going to have to, wow. Have you shot any video yet on the bunnies for social media?
I just sent you to the picture of the nest. I haven't gone in there. It's covered with
thank you.
The fur of the parent rabbit. It's interesting. I said we've had this incident before at my folks' house with our other dachshunds. Bunnies, when they're born, there's no fur on them. So the dogs, they can kind of be safe for a while from animals like dogs because they can't sniff them out, but they do have fur on them now. But their eyes weren't open yet. Through a quick Google search, I saw that after 3 weeks is when they typically start, hopping away and being able to do things on their own. So hopefully we're close to that in the timeline, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. But I mean, of all the yards to choose from, they picked this one with the dachshund. Awesome.
Yep. Wow. That is wild. Outstanding Salty Shakedown as always. Tom Hanks' first pitch. Wilson shows up. $3 media soda getting ripped off by an employee, and a bunny problem at Shannon's place. Lots more coming up. We have got to talk NFL football, and we will NFL football, Baker Mayfield, Cam Newton, NFL draft, because more football is good football. That and a whole lot more. Your reactions, NBA playoffs, and more. It's the Chris Duel Show. Thank you, Gail, for the instant reaction. That was very cool of you. Much appreciated. Pablo, I'm with you, man, especially this time of season. Pablo says, I'll tell you this, but I'd rather watch all the USFL games over Major League Baseball any day. I'm about the football, Pablo. I'm with you, man. Oh, wow. Okay. I just got the Shannon Rabbit's Nest photo, which looks a little bit something like this. There is the rabbit's nest. All right. Check something here. Yeah, John Williams, you sent me the Jordan Spieth. We covered that on the High Five Play of the Day, but thank you. Yeah, we did that at about 6:35. Bernard Trefan saying I had the height of Nate Tiny Archibald wrong. He was 6'1". That's why Muggsy Bogues was such a surprise at 5'3". Thank you, Bernard. Good morning, Fred. Fred, I talked a lot about it in the 6 o'clock hour. I want very badly to like and love the USFL. It did not rock my world. I remember the first week of the Alliance of American Football and even the XFL was I just got a text I got to respond to, was much more exciting than week one of the USFL. Hopefully tonight's game will get us better. Well, and Louisa says mistake to put a team in Houston. Nobody showed up. That all of those games are being played in Birmingham, which I think is one of the problems of the USFL. Yeah, I think all of the games will be played in that stadium in Birmingham. I don't like it. But it's apparently what they're going to do. Let me see here. Dean Stone, I totally agree. And I think given the attendance, these two leagues, the USFL and the XFL, and I know there's rumors about the XFL, but I haven't seen anything official yet, to not include San Antonio in the mix. You know, and I live here. I'm a fan. I'm biased, but just looking at the numbers, looking at the attendance numbers, the two teams far and away with the best attendance, both the Alliance of American Football and the XFL right before the pandemic were San Antonio and Orlando. That Orlando team in the Alliance of American Football had really good attendance as well. Here we come. Final hour. Going to mute a little bit. for our evil Facebook overlords. Yeah, Jason, that's a good idea. We've had him on a few times before, not since we've gone Austin and San Antonio, but he's a good guest and a good guy. Here we go.
Now, Chris Duel.
It's just another manic Monday.
Welcome in on a Manic Monday. What a weekend in sports. NBA playoffs moving in full force. We talked a little NBA playoffs. We'll talk more NBA playoffs. We'll take a look at tonight's games in the NBA. Certainly USFL, a special bonus extension of the USFL tonight on FS1, as last night's game between the Tampa Bay Bandits and the Pittsburgh Maulers was postponed due to rain. Houston Astros open their home schedule tonight. It's opening night at Minute Maid Park. The Astros' first 9 games were on the road. They're 5-4 now. They started 3-1 and then have kind of floundered, losing 3 of their last 5 games. But that 3-1 start was against the LA Angels. So that's the team they play tonight. The Angels come in at 6-4, Astros 5-4. So if the Astros can get the win, they would move back into first place in the AL West. That is something to keep an eye on. Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Jeremy KOLOK is your Soundscape stylist. Lots to cover this hour, and we will do so, including the NFL, NFL draft, NBA playoffs, USFL, Major League Baseball, and more. And Shannon, we talked about it last week. One of the facets of the USFL broadcasts was going to be former Dallas Cowboys head coach, former Cowboy quarterback, and maybe the greatest clapper in NFL history, Jason Garrett, would be in the booth providing color commentary. I thought he was good. He didn't dazzle me, but he wasn't bad. He was no Jason Witten, who had issues. But now apparently there's even more Jason Garrett to love out there on social media.
Yeah, Jason Garrett, probably one of the smarter moves he's made, did not have a social media account while head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. But he's got one now, and he's still very much repping the Cowboys in his profile picture and header photo. He originally opened his Twitter account April 13th, and his first tweet was about the passing of Gary Brown, of course, one of his former assistants. His most recent tweet was just from yesterday, this weekend, with a selfie with his co-host, Jack Collinsworth. Is he any relation to a Chris Collinsworth?
Oh, yes, he is. Son of Chris Collinsworth, and he sounds just like him. He sounds like his dad.
Selfie of the two of them getting ready to call a USFL game. So he just got this account. He's already verified. He's got a link to his charities, and he's got 3,653 followers so far. And he follows the Cowboys and the Giants as far as NFL teams are concerned, and that's it. As well as Troy Aikman, obviously.
Very cool. Well, yes, we'll look closer at Jason Garrett's Twitter account coming up. But we're getting a phone call. When you call us up, we try whenever we can to go right to your phone calls, make it as easy on you as possible. The phone number, 800-707-9760. On the phone line is Jason. Jason, thank you for the call. You're on the show. What is up, Jason?
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Shannon. I hope y'all had a good Easter.
Yes, we did. Thank you. Except for the bunny rabbit problem at Shannon's.
Yeah, I heard about that. Hey, I just want to remind everybody here in San Antonio and up there in Austin that this Wednesday is bragging rights. SAFC hosting Austin FC.
Whoa.
The game time has been moved to 8 o'clock, and we have confirmed that 500 fans from Austin will be traveling down here to San Antonio. So I'm encouraging everybody here in San Antonio, come out this Wednesday to Toyota Field and cheer on your SAFC. Both teams are on great win streaks, coming in hot. So this should be for bragging rights for the state.
I love it, Jason, and I'm so glad you reminded us, and we will talk about it. Now, I got to ask you, you are a San Antonio FC fan. I would say you're a San Antonio FC expert. Obviously, Austin FC, Major League Soccer, certainly that's a step above where San Antonio FC is in their league. How confident are you that San Antonio FC can put up a fight and hopefully, from my perspective, sorry, Austin, hopefully win this match at Toyota Field on Wednesday night?
Well, this is going to be a very good matchup because Austin is averaging 3.5 goals a match, while SAFC is giving up less than half a goal a match. And I believe they already have 2 or 3 shutouts this season. So I'm hoping that they both cancel each other out, maybe keep Austin around 2 goals or less, while our boys can hopefully get the offensive going and score 2 goals or more.
Very cool. Shannon, how do you feel? Your beloved Austin FC coming down, probably wearing the green Yeti kits.
Mm-hmm.
Nice little soccer term there. Are you excited for this matchup?
I'm looking forward to it. I haven't caught too many games yet this season, but I know just this weekend they were in a tight one and ended up coming back to win it 3-2. So they've definitely improved. That I think from year one of an organization, year two, probably the biggest improvement you'll see. And so I'm confident in the way they're playing right now. But it'll certainly be interesting. It's always interesting. That's one thing about soccer that you don't really get in other major league sports. Are they have these games within the MLS and within their league, but they then have these kind of other, they play the La Ligas, they play, different levels that are found within the US. I mean, it's a really interesting part of soccer. It kind of makes it hard to keep up with, well, which game matters for what, but I'm excited to see this one go down.
Now, Jason, if you're still there, I've got maybe the biggest question, and that is tailgate parties. Where will you be? Where will the Crocketeers be? How early will the partying in the parking lot begin? And where should I go if I wanted to find you guys?
All right. Well, Chris, as you mentioned, the Crocketeers, I am a proud member and a board member of the Crocketeers,
nice,
the official support group for SAFC. We have our tailgates right underneath the Thousand Oaks Bridge. That's just literally north of the stadium. It's like a stone throws away from the stadium. For this game, starting at 8 o'clock, I believe we're going to start our tailgate around 4:30, 5 o'clock-ish. I'm not sure about that because I don't text and drive at the same time. But if you're interested, ladies and gentlemen, please go to crocketeers.com. We're also on Facebook. We're also on Twitter. We're also on Instagram. And we do put out when and where we're going to have our tailgates, and also who our sponsors are. I know for one of our big sponsors is the Alamo Beer Company, which they're right underneath the Hay Street Bridge.
You had me at beer, Jason. I'll tell you what, Jason, we'll probably grab you on the show again on Wednesday, day of this match, just to kind of remind us and kind of and if you know more as far as tailgating, because that's very important to me. Pregame tailgating. So let's what's and I'm trying to think of our Wednesday lineup. Do we have anybody in the 8 o'clock hour, Shannon, on Wednesday? Typically, I know we got James Allen at 8. Oh, we got Bill Schoening. How are you doing it? Yeah, some guy named Bill Schoening who's like kind of a big deal at 8 o'clock. Jason, what's your schedule at like 8:35 on Wednesday? Are you available?
I'm waking up around that time listening to the Chris Duel Show.
So let's talk again. Final day of the match, San Antonio FC versus Austin FC. Let's talk again at 8:35 on Wednesday, and we'll at that point, maybe talk some trash with Shannon, and we'll see if anybody from Austin FC wants to get on and pimp Austin FC against you. So let's talk again on Wednesday, day of the match.
Sure, sounds great. And I'm encouraging everybody here in San Antonio to buy tickets to the game. I don't like the idea that 500 Californians from Austin, Texas is coming down here to watch the game.
How shots fired? How dare you, sir, characterize Austin fans as Californians, man? What now? Okay, I got to ask you this: in the stadium at Toyota Field, you're going to be there. The Crocketeers are huge. You're a big supporter group, obviously the biggest there is, the official one for San Antonio FC. Will it be friendly? Will it be kind of a friendly shouting match, trying to be louder than the 500 Austin FC fans, or will you hurl jeers at one another? Will you go all Kyrie Irving and try to insult the manhood and womanhood of Austin FC fans from California?
During the tailgate, we're all friendly. We're all Texans. We're one big happy family. But by the time the whistle starts till the final whistle, it's all on, no matter the fans or the players.
I kind of like that. I kind of like the whole rivalry thing going on. Jason, great call, sir. We will talk to you Wednesday at 8:35, and if you have any new information for us, let us know.
All right, will do, Chris. Shannon, have a good day.
Cool, man. Jason Garcia is his full name. Big fan. And Shannon, Jason, over the years and months has said, hey, man, talk more San Antonio FC. And I have recently said to him, well, we will, but we've got to consider the Austin listenership as Shannon comes to us from Austin at AM 1300 The Zone out of Austin. I come at you with Jeremy out of Ticket 760 in San Antonio. We are ASA, Austin, San Antonio. So this is the perfect clash of cultures and clash of worlds and clash of cities, Shannon. I wonder, we talk about the taco wars. I think both Austin FC and San Antonio FC should meet on the field with their best taco before the game. Each team should have a representative, and we should have maybe and I know this isn't probably normal in soccer, but maybe a taco eating contest right before the first kick of the game.
I mean, that is interesting. I think it's the Red River shootout where the governors of Oklahoma and Texas have a barbecue bet, right? So if their team loses, they have to give the opposing mayor or governor a brisket or something from their best barbecue place. So maybe something similar along those lines would be fun with tacos, obviously.
And
I'm worried San Antonio wouldn't want them, though, after what we got last week.
Yes. San Antonio might poo-poo those tacos. Somebody already on the live video feed suggested that I get San Antonio Mayor Ron Nierenberg on the show to ask him about where are we with the XFL, because there are rumors out there, but I've heard nothing official. There's even a coach that was named in the rumors about the XFL coming to San Antonio. But, we might have to get some mayor on mayor violence going on here. We might have to get the mayor of San Antonio, and maybe you and I, Shannon, facilitate a taco bet perhaps, or a bet of some kind between Austin and San Antonio, and get both mayors on. Maybe the best tacos from San Antonio bet against the best weed in Austin. So if San Antonio wins, we have to, you guys give us your best weed, right? And I don't know if Mayor Ron Nierenberg would necessarily smoke the weed since it's illegal in the state of Texas. But I'm just trying to think. Austin known for we're known for tacos in San Antonio. Austin known for music and all right. I think probably
I want to
Willie Nelson, of course.
I was gonna say, well, I'll give you Willie Nelson.
There you go. All right. Oh, I know you'll give us Willie Nelson. By the way, I saw a Willie Nelson social media video this weekend for the Willie Nelson 4th of July picnic that is going to be at Q2 Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
For the first time ever, the Willie Nelson 4th of July picnic will be at Q2 Stadium. I wonder if they're going to charge an arm and a leg to get into that place.
I'm sure he's usually held it out at COTA the last few years. It's interesting. There's some performances going on before the grand opening with George Strait and Willie Nelson and friends at the Moody Center. There's some concerts lined up, some tours, but they are the official opening. They've got two dates that they're going to do. But then also, I think this is going to make him the first concert within Q2 Stadium, unless again something gets scheduled prior to that 4th of July date. But Willie Nelson kind of on an event opening, a concert opening venue tour, if you will.
Very cool. And I've got tickets. I think it's either the 20th or the 23rd of May to see the Eagles at the brand new Moody Center. So while they won't open it, certainly, the Eagles have certainly some Texas representation there. So I'm looking forward to that.
I had tickets to see Willie Nelson in November of 2020.
Whoa!
And
bummer.
You might recall in 2020, some things changed in our society in 2020, and COVID hit, and it was really cheap tickets in like kind of a small venue in Oklahoma because I was still in college up there. And I was super excited because I want to see, musical legends before they pass on into the next life or whatever you believe. And I got these tickets for like $10 or something, and they were really good tickets, and I was so excited. And then COVID hits, and I was bummed, and I'm just like, man, that is ridiculous. I understand, I get it. We need to protect Willie Nelson and whatnot, but my tickets were never refunded. My show was never rescheduled. We just kind of moved on with
that.
Sucks. I don't know what the whole deal is with that. So I guess I wasn't meant to see Willie Nelson.
Well, there's the 4th of July picnic at Q2 Stadium. Shannon knows people. I'm sure Shannon can get you in with no problem to Q2 Stadium. And see, and I've told you, I had tickets before the pandemic on May 17th, 2020 to see James Taylor and Jackson Brown at the Toyota Center in Houston. I'm a fan of both of them. And luckily, though, that date was rescheduled and they honored those tickets. I think I wound up going last September, I think. Might have been August or September. And it was a tremendous show. And James Taylor's coming to the Moody Center as well in July, I think. He's always a good show. So, wow.
Y'all are talking about all these great artists, and I'm like, I'm trying to see Justin Bieber next week, you guys. I'm trying to pull some
Bieber
strings.
Going?
Moody Center.
Where's he going to be?
Moody
wow.
Center.
Okay.
We'll see.
Well, you know people, and you work at multiple radio stations.
Right. I'm on the radio
list. There's got to be some.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, you should be. Don't they know how much you love Justin Bieber? You should be high on that radio list. You should move up ahead of pretty much everybody else
who won tickets. Yeah, you betcha.
Well, don't they know who you are? There should be,
exactly.
Or maybe a listener can get 2 tickets and take you as the special guest of that listener. I don't know if the boyfriend would dig that, depending on who the listener is, but you get to see Bieber. So, all right. Speaking of, you mentioned your dogs and the dachshunds going after the bunnies in the bunny's nest in your yard. There are puppies involved with Coach K in the news. What do we know about that?
So as we know, Coach K has ridden off into the retirement sunset, and at an event where his current/former team was there and the new coach, they were speaking. They talked about Coach K. Coach K and his wife were on the stage, and they said, you're going to have all this time on your hands in retirement. You need something to do. And they brought out a silver lab puppy. Coach K kissed it. The dog kissed Coach K. So it seems like a match made in heaven. But maybe it's pessimist in me. I'm like, listen, the whole surprising somebody with a puppy is cute and all. But puppies, especially lab puppies with all that energy, they're hard to deal with. And I don't know what his plans were going right into retirement, but now he's locked down into training this dog. I mean, a Coach K could probably afford somebody to come train it for him, but I feel like, maybe he wanted to travel, right? The world's kind of opening back up. Maybe he wanted to do all these things, and now he's got this weight with him.
And that's, as you know, as a dog owner, Shannon, and you love your dachshunds, that's a commit. That's like having a child. Yep. I mean, I know not exactly, but if you're a good pet owner, it is akin to, not quite having a child. I get it, but I mean, if you got to feed them, you got to walk them, you got to care for them, you got to give them a good home. If you are, as you mentioned, Shannon, traveling, you've got to account for that. And get either a dog sitter or get him to a really, really good place.
Yep.
So yeah, I find that a little bit presumptuous to unless they had inside information that Coach K and his family wanted a dog. That's kind of a big move, I think.
Yeah, that was just my reaction. I saw the video; it was cute, and then I sat and I thought about it, and I was like, well, what if they had other things in mind? You can't just give someone a dog.
Yeah. No. Well, when you're not sure that they might want one. So, all right, coming up, we got a lot more to get to. We will talk about Floyd Mayweather and his relationship, apparently, with Antonio Brown. We'll dive back into the NFL. Baker Mayfield, we have a team that rumors have it might want him. We'll tell you who that team is. What's the latest on Cam Newton? We'll get you ready for all of tonight's sports, including tonight's NBA playoff action. We've got a bonus USFL football game tonight between the Tampa Bay Bandits and the Pittsburgh Maulers. Astros battling the LA Angels for first place in the AL West tonight in the home opener for the Astros. We'll get into all of that and more. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy KOLOK makes the show go. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. James Rippey, if the XFL comes to San Antonio, what should the team name be? James, I've always liked, and I don't know that anybody else has ever brought this up, there was a semi-pro team here in the 60s and the 70s called the San Antonio Toros. I don't know if you could get the name Toros, but I've always liked it. You know, instead of saying Bulls, Toro, you know, we had a team once called the Toros. They were actually a great team in their league. They won some championships. I just think it's a cool name. I think it, you know, it has the Latin flavor, which we have. I've also thought the San Antonio breakfast tacos would be a great name. On the side of the helmet, you could have a little breakfast taco with some of the foil peeled back. Taco Cabana could be a sponsor. You could put them in the Taco Cabana colors, maybe, or not. You know, maybe Las Palapas sponsors them. Hopefully not Torchies. San Antonio Gorditas, that's not bad. You know, it's too bad the Commanders didn't work out. That was kind of a cool name given the San Antonio military connection.
Sarah, don't give it up. State Farm has options to get you the supplies and a great rate.
Thanks, Jake. That sounds all right.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com for a quote today.
Dance come up to one by one.
Mom's got seafood when they come KOLOK. KOLOK. We used to spray and rush away,
But you will let us stay and play.
since it won't fog up the room. But the bugs will still meet their doom. Boom, boom, boom. Beat bugs with Zevo. It uses essential oils that attack bugs' biological systems. Plus, it's safe for use around people and pets when used as directed. Zevo. People friendly. Bugs.
Thank you, Mike Taylor.
Store near you.
Yeah, Wings isn't bad, John. Those were cool helmets, too. I used to sell programs at San Antonio Wings games. Oh, and Fred, I was at that game, 1974. It was the Houston Oilers rookies at Northside Stadium against the Toros. That was a big deal. It was so amazing to see the Toros out on the field with, the Oilers with the oil derricks on their helmet. Jeremy, I like that one too. I think Defenders is very good. Here would be my list. 1, Toros. 2, Defenders. 3, breakfast tacos. 4, wings. Here we come. All right. Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Welcome in. Jeremy KOLOK is your Soundscape stylist. Jason Paniagua says on the live video feed, winning time was great yesterday. Kyrie would really approve of this episode. So I got to believe, Shannon, this episode involves people flipping people off, perhaps. Maybe some Laker players flipping someone off.
If I had to guess, I haven't seen it yet. I'm watching today. I would assume because we're talking Kyrie and his rivalry he has with Boston. I know the Lakers, Larry Bird, on the Celtics at that time, that was huge. So I'm going to say that probably that's
Lakers
with the
Oh,
Lakers
Lakers
finally coming across the Celtics in this series.
In-game situation. Very interesting. Yeah, and we will watch that tonight. So that's coming up. Shannon, it dropped last night. So with the three of us having to get up early in the morning, we tend to watch that the next day on a Monday. So we will do that tomorrow or tonight, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. Back to the NFL, and we've got some breaking news on some NFL wide receivers. Before we get to that, Shannon, there's a former NFL wide receiver who wants to get back into the NFL, who has a very, very interesting and famous and rich advocate. What's going on with that story?
So over the weekend, Antonio Brown's been hanging out with the likes of Kanye West and apparently now also with Floyd Mayweather, who is, has no shame in throwing money around and is willing to throw around $20 million, saying that if a team signs him and he makes it through the season and is not a pain, he will give them $20 million. Or excuse me, they owe him $20 million. If they have to kick him off the team for whatever reason during the season, he will pay them $20 million. Listen, that's not how business is done, sir. It may seem like that in some areas of the world when you have that amount of money that you just pay for whatever, but his time is done. Just stop. Just stop. I hate that this keeps coming up because I'm tired of Antonio Brown.
Yeah, and if you're an NFL team and you wanted Antonio Brown, you'd want him to stay on the team. So then you've got to pay Floyd Mayweather $20 million if it all worked out. Whereas it would seem to me if you wanted to kick him off the team week 17, you could kick him off the team. Say, all right, Floyd, give me your $20 million. Thank you. We're done with his services. Now give us $20 million. Who knows? It might be a deal Daniel Snyder would take because he's kind of a dirtbag. Something else that is a story today, this broke this morning. We're learning that there are three pretty well-known wide receivers who want more money in the aftermath of the Raiders signing Davante Adams to a record-setting 5-year contract worth up to $142.5 million. We're now learning, and our good buddy Adam Schefter is reporting this, that the 49ers star Deebo Samuel, Tennessee Titans wide receiver A.J. Brown, and Washington Commanders receiver Terry McLaurin they all want new contracts, and they are not planning on participating in any OTAs or on-field work during the offseason unless they get new contracts. It's interesting, Shannon. Now, for the longest time, it's a quarterback-driven league, and the quarterbacks were getting all these big contracts. Now with this gigantic Davante Adams contract that the Raiders signed him to, other relatively big name, or at least, go-to wide receivers on other teams are saying, hey, man, show me my money. I want my money too. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out in the NFL.
Yeah, because quarterbacks are getting these giant contracts, it obviously lessens the money pool for the rest of the team. And that's been a conversation taking place a lot around Patrick Mahomes, right? And obviously Tyreek Hill no longer a part of that team, but okay, they have all these weapons on their Super Bowl run, then they pay him all that money. How are they going to maintain, this high level if they're not going to be able to afford these great players? And I think if you were to sit down and look at a team and one by one put in order who would have the highest, paycheck and go down the list, I would dare say, wide receiver would be number 2. But there is such a huge disparity between that number 1 and number 2 spot. So when you see one guy get something like what Devontae Adams got or Stephon Diggs, you're like, well, wait a minute. So some places are able to provide the funds because the escalation of the quarterback market is jumping a lot faster than any of these other positions. I think some of these players who are holding out may end up getting what they want or something close to it. But it's a dangerous game when you start playing that because as a wide receiver, unlike quarterback, you're kind of seen as a dime a dozen. And we've seen time and time again these bust kind of guys, right? Odell Beckham Jr., his most famous catch, he's wearing a Giants uniform. And obviously he's a Super Bowl champion now with the Rams. And he did help win that game. But I wouldn't say that teams that have had him since have really gotten their money's worth out of him as to what they thought they were getting when they brought him over to their organizations.
Yeah, certainly the Cleveland Browns did not. Obviously, it worked out well for the Rams. Jeremy, and it looks to me, two teams of note, and Shannon mentioned Tyreek Hill of the Chiefs who wanted a ton of money. The Chiefs are kind of betting on that dime a dozen. There's a lot of wide receivers coming out in the NFL draft, which is now 10 days away on April 28th. Cowboys like the Chiefs with Tyreek Hill, although he doesn't have the same skill set as Tyreek Hill, but he was kind of a big deal. They gave up a number 1 draft pick for Amari Cooper. Apparently, same deal there. The Cowboys realize, hey, instead of paying all this money to Amari Cooper, let's find our other wide receivers elsewhere, especially since we have CD Lamb. Where do you fall on this, Jeremy? Do you think receivers are pretty much a dime a dozen, or do they deserve this kind of money they are now seeking?
Well, Chris, I'm going to make a prediction because I think that this is not sustainable. I think, Shannon mentioned that we've seen the prices for quarterbacks has gone up exponentially, and so has wide receivers. And you can't have that with every position. It's the quarterback is the quarterback. But I'm going to make a prediction that at some point there's going to be a wide receiver that overvalues himself. He thinks that he can get on the market what he's not going to be able to get. And he's going to hold out from his team. He's going to leave his team because they're not giving him what he expects. And there's not going to be a market for at least what he's asking for. And he's going to be left without a team unless he decides to settle for, a minimum contract. That's my prediction. I think because this isn't sustainable. I mean, the I guess inflation of the salary that is going to these star players, it's not sustainable with the cap. The cap is not keeping up with it, and there's seemingly no ceiling. I mean, Patrick Mahomes gets paid, and we're like, oh my gosh, that nobody will ever get paid that. And then back to wide receiver, Devontae Adams gets paid money that we've never seen before. Not everybody is Devontae Adams, and not everybody's Tyreek Hill. And because there's no ceiling on this, no end to this, because obviously the life cycle is guys are going to keep needing more money. Guys are going to keep wanting to one up the last guy that got paid when it's their turn. And to me, it just seems unsustainable.
Yeah.
I think you've got a really good prediction there. And I think what we're seeing here, Shannon, with this story, Deebo Samuel, A.J. Brown of the Titans, and Terry McLaurin of the Commanders, that's, I think, the first step toward Jeremy's prophecy coming true. Here are 3 guys going, hey, man, we're worth a lot more money than we're getting paid. We're not coming to OTAs. We want a new contract, and we want it now.
Don't be a Dennis Schroeder. I know it's a different sport, but if we remember, he was offered $84 million from the Lakers to remain a Laker, and he thought that wasn't enough. And ultimately, the market was not what he thought it was. So now he is a Boston Celtic and is making $6 million.
Yeah, and Axel J. Miller, who's a big Raiders fan, pointing out that whole deal with Devontae Adams coming to the Raiders. He says, what people don't understand is my Raiders' Derek Carr actually took a hometown discount so that the Raiders could afford his buddy and his college go-to wide receiver and friend Devontae Adams to come to the Raiders. That is going to be fascinating there, Shannon. Those guys, I don't think we've seen something like that happen before, where two players were really, really good friends. Devontae Adams arguably had a good thing going in Green Bay, with Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball. That could have been a Super Bowl team, certainly in the NFC, where you don't have Patrick Mahomes and all those other quarterbacks. To choose to go to the Raiders because he wanted to play with Derek Carr is an interesting deal. Two guys who were a connection in college and became really good friends. And according to both of them, had talked over the years about making this happen, finding a way to make it happen. It's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I think it's huge. And I feel like there's probably been instances where teams have tried to emulate that. And maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. But I think for this one, it'll be special for the Raiders. And, given the division they're in, they need that je ne sais quoi. They need that extra something that makes a spark, and that could very well be it, is the relationship that they find between their quarterback and their star wide receiver.
Yeah, if they can light it up and connect for a lot of touchdowns, that's they're going to need a lot of touchdowns, especially when they play Mahomes and the Chiefs twice. Do want to get to this as well this morning, Shannon. Speaking of the National Football League, Baker Mayfield continues to be in the news. And now we have at least rumors that there is a specific team that is interested in his services, as he's kind of in limbo right now, as obviously the Cleveland Browns going for Deshaun Watson clearly signaled that they're ready to move on from Baker Mayfield.
We are hearing that the Carolina Panthers, a potential landing spot for Baker Mayfield. They brought Sam Darnold over from the Jets, and it was a big moment for him, right? He was super happy to get away from that organization, but it just really didn't turn out, at least thus far in Carolina. An injury, obviously. They bring in Cam Newton, thinking that may spark something because he once a Panther, I guess always a Panther, but Cam Newton, and it just really, he's not the same player he was, and probably isn't the leader that you want for that franchise, especially with a guy like Matt Rule as head coach. Interesting that Baker would be a guy they'd go for, I think, just because, to me, that team needs more than a quarterback to fix it. But given that Baker went to Oklahoma and was at Texas Tech, and Matt Rule, obviously coming from Baylor, has a familiarity that maybe other coaches in the NFL don't with Baker Mayfield, and thinks that might play to his advantage.
Well, and one of the problems with Baker Mayfield, at least this year, if you bring him in, you're going to still owe him a lot of money on that contract. I don't have the number in front of me, but it's a significant amount of money. Does a team want to pay that kind of money to Baker Mayfield, who, we know he was hurt last year, but I mean, for the money you would pay for Baker Mayfield, if you're the Carolina Panthers, I would agree he's an upgrade from Sam Darnold, but is he a huge upgrade from Sam Darnold? And is he a cost-effective upgrade from Sam Darnold? I mean, maybe you're hoping. It's kind of like the Texas Tech situation with Baker Mayfield. He feels dissed. He kind of feels like, he went from Texas Tech to Oklahoma to prove himself, and he did in a big way. It's kind of back to the future for Baker Mayfield. Here he is once again. He's going to have to go somewhere and prove that he belongs, this time as a good quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, and looking at his contract, it looks like his base salary this year is $18.8 million.
All right, that's not Mahomes money. That's not 40. So, I'm sure that if he could be a functional quarterback for the Carolina Panthers or for somebody, that might be the kind of money they would want to take on. So, all right, Shannon, your homework assignment, my homework assignment, Jeremy's homework assignment is to watch the latest episode of Winning Time as recommended by Jason Paniagua. Rise of the Lakers Dynasty on HBO and HBO Max. I'm off to do that. Enjoy your viewing, and best of luck with your bunny problem. We hope you, and we look forward to your update on that tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll let you know if anything drastic or life-altering happens to me or said bunnies.
Yeah, hopefully not life-ending for the bunnies. I want the bunnies to live. Jeremy KOLOK, great stuff today, especially your insight on the Celtics Brooklyn Nets game. That was great stuff as always. We will see you. You going to have time for Winning Time?
Oh, of course. I've been thinking about it all morning.
Okay. I'm going to make every effort. I'm going to do it. I know sometimes the dog ate my homework. I'm going to keep the dog away from my homework. For Shannon Salty Sweeney, for Jeremy KOLOK, we will do this again in 21 hours. Go Astros. Have yourself a great, great Monday, and we will see you tomorrow. Adios, amigos. See you tomorrow. Thank you for hanging out with us. Have a great Monday. Adios.